What are the kinds of challenges that we can anticipate the United States facing in the next 10 to 20 years?
First, we've got the interrelated problems of the Middle East and terrorism. So we've got the Arab-Israeli dispute. We've got the problems in Iraq. We've got Iran and its effort to acquire nuclear weapons.
Yeah, there are a lot of challenges, but the world is not a more dangerous place. I think, yes, it's more complex, but it's not more dangerous. We've lived through worse. I was on active duty in the Navy, the Cuban Missile Crisis. You've never seen anything, like that.
Our ability to develop and encourage and live within a multilateral system that helps tackle some of these challenges is going to be a very critical test of our statecraft.
There is an issue with the legitimacy of U.S. power. We did spend 40 years after the Cold War, more or less, strengthening international law and building relationships.
If you want to improve Army recruitment, you got to get out of Iraq.
We violated basically every standard of just war theory in the Iraq operation. And so it's taken away from our moral power.
People say, well, after Iraq or Afghanistan, you'll never do that again. Well, suppose there's a coup in Pakistan. That's one of the world's most dangerous places. Or a coup in Saudi Arabia, where you're going to need people on the ground to do that.
Who in their right mind in this room believes for a moment that we are going to invade and occupy a country with 160 million Islamics with America's military forces?
If I listened to Gordon, I wouldn't need an army, okay? I don't know where the army's going to go. I don't know who's going to be president. I wouldn't have gone to Iraq, but somebody did, okay? And somebody may have to go to Pakistan if there's a coup and people are worried about what's going to happen.
I'm telling you, China has a lot of people. And I don't want to go there.
I want to delve a little bit deeper into this question of, does the force need to grow? Because I know we have a variety of opinions on this subject.
So if I could, snap my fingers and have the approval authority and say, absolutely, raise 100,000, do it now, put them in uniform, start them moving, give them 9 months training, by next spring they'll be there. The problem is, it doesn't work that way.
So if you want to keep all these troops in Iraq for this period of time, you've got to go to a draft.
Maybe you don't draft for the active force. Maybe you draft for the National Guard and Reserve. But you have to ask this question, because the burden of raising the force in a timely fashion is so enormous.
Many of the challenges we face, virtually all of them, are going to require the integrated use of various instruments of national power. Not only the military may or may not be relevant depending on the case, but diplomacy, public diplomacy, intelligence, homeland security, information, economics, and so forth.
I'm a Navy F-18 pilot. I've been to Iraq 4 times over my career. Would happily go back a 5th because I believe the consequences of a failed state there are worth that level of effort. You all have touched upon the interagency process. You've used every bit of the DIME acronym, I think, up there. It is broken. You all have said it's broken. I've experienced the fact that it's broken. Do you think a Goldwater-Nichols type of legislation, monumental type of legislation, which reorganized the Department of Defense so it could operate more efficiently jointly, is required here?
My own view is that interagency reform is sorely needed.
You can also find a lot of resistance. The Pentagon fought like hell against Goldwater-Nichols.
And I'm curious if you could comment about your views as to whether the international community and the United Nations might be better than the United States at actually performing these tasks.
I think that we can't move and rely on the UN to do this without having a substantial U.S. capability to fit in to the international peace and help shape it.
That's all fine if you're dealing with these different pieces in the toolkit, but we have to do something about integrating the pieces across the toolkit.
Talked a little bit about getting your ground forces accustomed to stabilization, operation, whatever term that you want to call it.
There needs to be some accountability for the mistakes that are present at Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib. And I'm not talking about a couple of soldiers being court-martialed for improper behavior. This goes to the very top of organizations in the executive branch. and you know precisely which organizations I'm talking about, and you know precisely who and whose memos should be examined. And I believe that we're not going to clear the books and really regain our authority until we've opened the books and looked at them.